Alright, so now I'm cooling the wort. This is my unique setup that I got going on here. Basically what's going on is I have an aquarium pump in here that is sucking water through these two hoses into my wort chillers and then running out. I've also got my garden hose bringing in cold water, and so it just keeps circling it. Works pretty well for me. It's great, especially when I have two brews at the same time, because I have two coils to cool down the beer. So hopefully this is going to be a better look at what's going on here. You can see the pump down there. These are the two hoses. One's going to this one and one's going to this one. There's my coil. Still have the hot bags in there. So cold water is coming through this pipe, coming through here, going through there, and coming back out. Same thing in the other one. Alright, so it's been about a half hour, 45 minutes. I finally got my wort down to the temperature I wanted. It's right around 65, 70 degrees. Now I'm going to transfer the wort from the brew kettle into my fermentation buckets, carboys. And in order to do that, with these two, I'm going to use my auto siphon on the one with the hot bags. The one without the hot bags, I'm going to use a hose with a quick adapter on it, and I'm going to try to filter out the hops as I do it. So in order to do that, I have some rubbing alcohol, which I have in a spray bottle. And basically what I'm going to do is just spray down the nozzle. This just helps sanitize it. Because remember, as soon as you kill the flame from the brew kettle, anything that touches the wort could potentially contaminate it. And so if I'm bringing the wort through here, I need to make sure that's sanitized. Otherwise I could get bad beer. Alright, so I'm just pumping the wort through my siphon hose into my carboy. Pretty simple process. If you don't have an aerator, what you can do is just shake your hose as it's being siphoned into it, and this will help aerate your wort. It's important to aerate your wort because the yeast need that oxygen in order to absorb the food and split and grow and multiply. Now for this one, I've got the strainer already in here. I left it in there as I cooled it, and it was already sanitized. And as you can see, just by pulling it out, I already have a good amount of hops onto the strainer. So I'm going to use a funnel. I'm going to place it underneath the strainer like this, and then when I transfer it, I'm going to run it through the strainer, and hopefully that'll get all the hops out. Alright, so here's a quick look at my brew pots. This is the one with the hot bags. I haven't taken them out yet, but as I siphon it, I'm going to take them out. This is the brew pot without the hot bags. Like as you can see, it's kind of dirty in there, but hopefully we can filter all that out. So the wort's coming out of here, through the valve, through the hose, and here's the filter. You see all the hops. It's already clogging up. So I'm going to have to finesse that in order to get the beer through there. And basically all I have is a funnel on top of the carboy, and then the beer goes down in there. So this mesh really helps filter out all the hops. You really don't want any hops in your wort because yeast don't like hops, and you won't get a really good fermentation. So that's basically the process. Alright, so I stopped my siphon on this one. This is the one with the hop bags. The reason I stopped it is because I was sucking up too much of that crud down there. That is the trub that you don't want in your beer. So there's probably a half a gallon to a gallon still left in there. I probably sucked out a little bit more than I wanted, but hopefully all that stuff will fall to the bottom when it ferments. So as you can see, it looks kind of dirty, but I have half my carboy filled with that beer. And now I'm going to start working on this one, which is going to be a little bit more work. Alright, so I finished transferring the beer without the hop bags. As you can see, I got quite a bit of foam there. It's good because that means it was aerated as I transferred it. And as you can see in the brew kettle, to shake it up, all this light brown greenish stuff, that's the hops that is still left in there. So there's probably a gallon still left in here, which is fine because I was able to fill my carboy up halfway, which is what I wanted anyways. So right around here is the 5 gallon mark. So I'm a little bit more than halfway, just about halfway there. Alright, now that I'm done transferring my wort into my carboys, I'm going to now fill the rest of the carboys with this water that I boiled earlier today. I cleaned off my siphon hose and I re-sanitized it. Now I'm just going to pump water into these carboys. Now the key is to get to about 5 gallons, which I already know is going to be right around here. Now I have some other carboys that I've used in the past where I pre-measured 5 gallons, so I know where the mark is. And on these, it's right above this extra lip right here. So I'm just bringing water down from this carboy. It's just clean, sanitized water down into here. I'm going to fill this up, and then I'm going to move it over to this one and fill that one up. Alright, so as you can see, I've got both my carboys filled to about 5 gallons. And before I aerate it some more, I'm going to get a hydrometer reading. It's a pretty simple process. Basically, all I'm going to do is siphon out a little bit of beer into my test tube and then drop in the hydrometer and get a reading. Alright, so this one is looking pretty good. There's definitely a lot of sugar in there for the yeast to eat. So it should be a pretty high content beer. Right now we're looking at 1.08, so we're going to get somewhere around 7.5 to 8% alcohol once it's all said and done, hopefully. Alright, for the other beer. This one's a little bit higher, it's sitting at 1.085. So we've got some pretty strong beers to make. I've chosen the right yeast. Hopefully it'll work out. Hopefully I'll get the fermentation that I want, that we need. I don't know if you can see it from the video, but this one is actually looking quite dirty. So I'm going to actually transfer it one more time to try to clear out a lot of that trub that is in there. Alright, so now I'm going to aerate the beer. It's pretty well aerated already just from the transfer process, but since I have an aeration system, I'm going to aerate it some more. You don't want to over aerate it, but you also want to make sure there's enough in there for the yeast to absorb. So what I've done is I've boiled my stone, my aeration stone, in order to sanitize it. You want to use gloves when you're handling the stone because the oils and dirts on your finger will clog the pores, the holes in the stone. So I'm just going to dip it in my sanitation bucket real quick. And plug it in and let it run. This way I know it's working properly, plus I'm sanitizing it at the same time. Now I'm just going to put it in my wort. And let it aerate the wort for probably 15 minutes. Okay, so now you can see I have the aeration going. It's probably been about 5 minutes. I've already got quite a bit of foam developed in there. So I'm probably going to do it for another 5 minutes, total of 10 minutes. Turn it off. And then we should be good to go to add the yeast and let it ferment. Meanwhile, I have the other carboy cooling down right now to let all the trub settle down to the bottom. And I'm going to transfer it again because I don't want any of that trub in there, or as little as possible. Alright, so we're finally ready to pitch the yeast. I ended up transferring both of the wort again. Reason being, because the first time I did it, got a whole bunch of trub in the bottom of it. And so by transferring it off of that again, I'm going to end up with cleaner beer hopefully, and better tasting beer. So we got them both in the carboys that they're going to ferment in for the first week. They're both aerated, and so they're ready for some yeast. So this yellow carboy here is my yeast starter. I pretty much started out with a vial of yeast, fermented it for a couple days, and about 3.5 gallons of wort that I made. And hopefully it's going to give me enough yeast to pitch in both of these new beers that I'm making. So the goal is I want to transfer out most of this liquid and leave a layer of slurry, which is going to be the yeast and some of this wort or beer now already in there. I'm going to take that and funnel it into these carboys, and that's how I'm going to pitch my yeast.